everybody. Welcome to the Let's Talk It Out podcast. It's me, your host, Alec Lifschultz, a.k.a. Trey Busy. I want to thank you guys all for coming in and tuning in and taking time out of your busy week to come have a conversation with me about mental health. Before I go too much further, I want to thank Omar for coming on last week. Omar was great. As usual, he's man, I've known that dude for years, man, and his story is very, very powerful. And again, I want to thank you for coming on. So I hope everybody had a good week. For me, it was a little bit up and down. Last few days were kind of difficult for me, but we're making it, man. That's what it's all about. It's all about getting through those struggles and coming out on top. So with that being said, I would like to say I'm not alone tonight. Hey, what's going on? Justin's inside the chat room. What's up, Brittany? I'm not alone tonight, guys. I have a very special guest. Sports analyst. You know how much I love sports. I'd like to introduce Holly Seymour. Holly, can you tell people a little bit about yourself?
Hey, well, you pretty much described it. I do sports. No. Yeah, I'm a pretty simple person. Just sports and Netflix and chill.
Oh, come on now.
I'm not too exciting, I swear. I promise, Twitter and Instagram makes me seem exciting, but I'm really not. I kind of like to just lay low key, hang out, not do anything too exciting. I like traveling.
So as far as sports goes, specifically football is Holly's avenue. She would literally argue with anybody about anything related to football if she feels like she's right and they're wrong.
I'm always right, but guilty. That's me.
So, I'm chiming in the chat room. My mom says hi to you. She tunes in every week.
Hi. I love when she chimes in. She's awesome.
Yes, she is. So, Holly, again, I want to thank you for coming on tonight and taking time out of your busy schedule. I know it's the draft season and you have a lot going on with that. So for you to be able to come sit down for me, that means a lot.
Oh, thank you for having me. I'm a fan of the show, so I was really, really excited when you asked me. So
with that being said, we're going to just go ahead and dive right into it.
Let's do it.
Okay. So, Holly is one of the strongest people that I've ever met as far as being able to, keep things together to the point where she's able to actually still function the way she does, considering what she told me, her background and the amount of anxiety that something like that creates. And she goes and sees a therapist, and the therapist tells her that talking about it will make things better. So I brought Holly on to Justin says, do you know Aaron Rodgers is overrated?
Okay, I can't talk Bears and not with you guys. This might get bad in here. No, I'm just kidding.
So she was told by a therapist it'd be best for her to talk about it. So before I don't want to take the floor too much. This is Holly going to share a little bit about why I asked her to come on and why she felt like she wanted to tell her story.
Well, a few years ago, I cover a certain sports team out here, a few of them, but the main team that I cover, I don't really want to go into depth about that. But about 2 years ago, I had an incident with one of the players on the team where I was actually raped, and I never really had too much, I had normal anxiety, but nothing extreme like it is now. And for a whole year, I pretty much ignored it and kept telling myself it didn't happen. I still went to work, and I just acted I felt like if I told myself that nothing happened, that it wouldn't exist. So I basically pushed the whole incident out of my mind, and I never talked about it with anybody. I finally ended up going to therapy because I couldn't sleep at all. My anxiety would be so bad that I would be awake for 3 days, 4 days, to the point where I would be hallucinating, and I've had to go to emergency rooms because I couldn't sleep. So I finally decided to go, and I think I've came a long way so far, but it's still something that's a little uncomfortable, but I'm getting a little bit better with it. I think sitting down and talking with it actually did help. My first few sessions, though, when I went, I thought that I was like, this is ridiculous. So I felt ashamed and embarrassed. And literally, like my first, like probably like month with this therapist, I sat there and like the whole hour session was wasted. Like we just stared at each other because, like, how do you just like sit down and be like, yeah, I was raped? Like it's something you don't really. It's not like people always say, well, you shouldn't be ashamed or you shouldn't be embarrassed, but it's something for, I don't know if you want to call it victim, but like it's shameful and a part of you has been violated. And the last thing you want to do besides like remembering it and talking about it is sitting there and like just bringing it all up over and over again and for the first time telling somebody. So
one thing I want to say that really pisses me off is lately I've been seeing this thing going around social media when they're saying that women are inviting men to touch them by what they are wearing. You know, it's like
oh yeah,
they're saying how, well, she shouldn't have been wearing, those clothes, or she should have had more clothes on. No matter what someone's wearing, that doesn't mean that they are inviting you to come, touch them. That's not what that means.
absolutely.
So
And even like, oh God, there's so much to that that people don't understand. Like I was at a beach bar, so I was in a bikini anyway, but it was nothing like that. So I know exactly what you're saying. Like just because a girl is dressing, showing cleavage or wearing short shorts or she smiles at you, that doesn't give you the right to violate, especially if somebody is intoxicated or somebody's been drinking or something. You just can't do that. It's not right. And yeah, people need to learn that because you always hear everybody. I just saw something I had to repost on Instagram the other day, like, and it said everybody knows somebody that's been raped, but nobody knows a rapist. Like, because it's true. Like, I feel like guys and like social media this day, it's okay. Nobody wants to, like, everybody wants to have their friends back, or it's okay. She was dressed like that's her fault, or oh, you didn't do nothing wrong. She definitely said something, and it's not okay.
it's not
But
okay at all. And again, like I've seen that quote too, and that's so true. So my mom says, "I'm sorry that happened to you, Holly. I thank you for being so brave to talk about it." Uh,
thank you.
Justin says the stigma is wild, is stronger than you know, and yeah, he just quoted you and said, "Wow," because that's true. Somebody's been raped, but not nobody claims that they know a rapist. So
Yeah, and I feel, and on that note too, I feel awkward when I go to work because I didn't quit. As much as like I took time off from the job and I never told anybody why, but I went back and I never quit. And when I walk into that locker room and do press conference and stuff like that, or even when I'm just on the field, like a part of me in my head is thinking that, and they're like I'm like thinking in my head, I hope he didn't brag and you know what I'm saying and say, oh, I slept with her when it was definitely not consensual. You know what I'm saying? Like, and I always think, oh, well, if somebody did, like my story was posted, like if anybody finds out who it was, it's his teammates, his brotherhood, they'd probably be like, oh, she wanted it. You know what I'm saying? Like you always have that constant, like it was my fault, like the blame and the guilt. And that's something I still struggle with when I'm talking to my therapist. Like, I'll have sessions when I go in and I'm still mad at myself. And I tell her, she's like, why would you be mad at yourself? You were the victim. And then I'm always like, well, if I wouldn't have drank that much, or if I wouldn't have like I don't know, if I wouldn't have been there when that at that particular time, like I blame myself. And it's like maybe I didn't say no enough. You know what I'm saying? Like maybe I didn't make it clear enough. And I can't blame myself. And I think that's really hard for victims to that's one of the main things. There's always that guilt there, like you could have done something different. You could have prevented it, and you can't.
So
So
I've done a lot of reading, and that is true. Like most victims of some type of sexual assault feel like it was their fault that happened to them, and like your therapist said, I mean that's the furthest thing from the truth. You know, granted, I mean you were the one, but there's something fucked up with that person. It has nothing to do with you. That they feel like that they are able to just do whatever they want without any consent. It has nothing to do with you. Being it's your fault. You should have wore this, or you should have not had these many drinks. You were having a good time. Couldn't tell you how many times. Men, we go out drink and have good times too. Granted, it doesn't really happen to us often, but still, it's like trying to put myself in your shoes. If this was to happen to me, I man, like I said, you are a very strong person. Um, so I'm gonna ask you this: what made you start feeling comfortable enough with your therapist? Because you said at first you guys were just sitting down and just like staring at each other. What was the first day that you remember that you were able to start actually talking about it with her?
I was desperate because I don't know, like, okay, anxiety is really bad. And when you get it to the extent that it's not just panic attacks anymore, it's the not sleeping, that is the worst feeling in the whole world. Like, depression is bad, but when you can't sleep because something is on your mind that bad, you'll do anything to fix it. Like, I got tired of, like, I tried everything. Like, I was like, oh my God, I can't sleep at night. Like, I would try natural stuff. Then I would try, it got to the point where I was getting like pills from people. I didn't even know what they were because I was just trying to go to sleep. And there were nights that I would take so many of these pills. I didn't know what they were. And I was like, well, oh my God, I hope I wake up in the morning, but I need sleep. And I just got to the point where it was affecting my work and everything. Like, I was angry all the time because I'm not sleeping. So finally, I just started crying to her, and I hate crying. I'm like, I don't like showing emotion at all. And I think that's why it's so hard for me, because I've never been one to really like, I feel like when you talk about things, it makes me feel like that's my weakness and that's making me vulnerable. And I needed to learn to stop doing that. So it was out of desperation. And finally, just one day I walked in, I just started crying. And I was like, whatever, I'll talk about it as many times as you want. I'm done. I just want to sleep and I want to fix it. And that's really what it was.
You reached your breaking point. You were
Yeah.
uh, like a crab for lack of a better metaphor. It's like a hard outer shell, and you're holding all the softness inside you, but you didn't feel comfortable enough with her to talk about, which is absolutely normal for people. Most people don't want to just talk about traumatic instances, even with such people like that dealing with depression. They don't like talking about it either. They keep it to themselves, and I just the fact that shit, you know.
It's also just the fact that like it's denial and stuff too, because like for so long, like, and everybody handles traumatic situations in different ways. So I felt like when the incident first happened to me, I was numb and I was crying and I laid in bed and I didn't leave my house for like 3 days. I'm not gonna lie, like it hit me then. But then I was like, okay, all right, snap out of it. And then I went back into my fight mode. I went into Holly, man up. Like, stuff happens to people all the time. Get over it. Worse stuff happens. And I think I was hard on myself. I was so hard on myself. And I was like, it didn't happen. You're fine. You're good. And I think that people just like, because I thought, so time went by. And then I was like, you see in movies and stuff, and people that get raped, they have like nightmares and they're scared to face that person. It's all this stuff. And it wasn't like that for me. So I was in denial because I was like, I don't know why I can't sleep. It's just my anxiety. It was the rape. But a year had went by and I had been in denial. And I'm thinking the whole time in my head, oh, well, I would be scared of him and I would be having nightmares and I'd be thinking about it. I never thought about it. I never went back to that place. I was never scared of him. I walked right past him in the locker rooms. I walked right past him on the field, and I never like it. I'm not scared of him to this day. So I guess that people handle it differently. And I was just in denial. And to this day, sometimes I do still question, is that why my anxiety is so bad? Even though I know it is, like that part of me still trying to fight. Like the strong, really it's the weak side of me, but in my head, the strong side of me still is always fighting. Like, no, you're okay. Like it's just a constant battle. So
Yeah, I mean, uh, Hollywood, man, they have a way of depicting something and it make you believe. They brainwash us into believing every instance that happens is going to be exactly like how they display it to us. You know,
yeah.
this is exactly how you go. This is exactly how it happens, and it's like a reoccurring theme of implanting things in our mind. This is how it's supposed to be when this happens to you. So I want to read a couple things from the chat room to
Okay.
you. Justin says, "This makes me so angry. Self-forgiveness is the hardest thing. Narcissism and gaslighting. I hope you find that forgiveness. They have to live with those skeletons when they go to sleep. I know it's stupid to say, but you don't. I don't know that experience, but I'm so proud of you. Being alone with your own thoughts is the scariest place to be."
Thank you so much. That's nailed it.
And,
Thank you.
and Mama dropped the gem. Of course, she says, "I hate you had to go through this dark place. A part of you was taken, and it wasn't your fault. We as women blame ourselves when things happen. You didn't do anything wrong, but you were wrong. Trauma causes us to suppress to survive."
Your tirade was awesome.
Yeah.
It's nice to like, it's nice when you hear people like support you. And I know that sounds dumb because people are like, what? Of course everybody's gonna support you. But and I would have thought the same thing, but it's like when it happens to you, it changes everything. Like it kind of tears you down and like kind of beats you into like this into the ground, and then you don't really know who you are anymore. So I don't know. It's kind of
There's a feeling of emptiness in your life because you feel like nobody relates to you, or
yeah.
like you said, like nobody's going to support you and they're going to look at you differently. You feel like it's like a scarlet letter, you know, put on your chest.
Absolutely. Do you know how nervous I was to like when I finally like wrote okay, so I write a lot to help myself through I've always been a writer. I think you and I have discussed this, but like it helps me too. Like I've always kept a diary, and one night I wrote and sometimes I email my diary to one of my coworkers at ESPN, and I sent him the story one night. I didn't have anybody else to send it to. Nobody in my family knew what happened to me. Like I had like one or two, like the people that were there knew what happened only because they were there. So I sent it to him one night, and he immediately like called me, and he talked to me for a little while. When I went into the station, like we talked, and a few weeks later he was like, hey, do you think we could run your story? He's like, it's not as a media thing. He's like, it's not, we don't have to at all. He's like, I just think, he's like, it really affected me. And he's like, and I think that if you share your story, it will help other people relate to you. And I thought about it from that. And I was working with my therapy and everything. So I was like, you know what? Let's just do it. And I kind of just impulse. I was like, just do it, run it. So ESPN dropped the story. Of course, no names were used or anything, but for it being like, it went like it blew up. And I was so like, as soon as it happened, I was like, no, I shouldn't have done it. Like I was scared, and I was like, oh my God. And I was scared when I got so much response though. It made me feel good, but also the other part of me was like, when I walk into work tomorrow, I work with all guys. Are they going to look at me differently? Like in reality, I know they're not going to, but that part of me that's like broken down is like, oh my God, I can't walk through the hallways anymore at work. Now everybody's going to think like, oh, well, that's what we get for having a girl working in the office. Or, like this is why girls shouldn't do sports stuff, like guys, sports teams and stuff like that. Like I just was thinking the worst out of it. It made it even more hard for me. So
Well,
I had to deal
one
with
thing I
that.
want to say in regards to that, that whole women in sports thing is kind of like one of the stupidest things I've ever heard in my life because we are all people and we all are passionate about certain things. You are probably, as far as people I know about sports that I know, you're one of the top three people I know that
Well, thank
when it
you.
comes to knowledge about football. So
I
like,
appreciate that.
and that's saying a lot because you know how plugged I
I
am with
know
football.
you're tough. You're tough.
When I'm
I respect that. I feel honored now.
so that whole stigma about women in sports is absolutely just absurd. That's really ridiculous.
I mean, it's just like you build up for like I know that it sounds dumb, but like I've tried to build stuff up so much. Like when you're like, I don't know, it's just I'm trying to figure out a way to explain it. You already kind of get, I know you don't, but some people do kind of look at it as, oh, what's this girl doing here? And when you're around, let's be real, when you're around a lot of guys sometimes and stuff, they don't take you seriously. Like they don't, like I had to really work hard, and I've covered this team for many years to get the respect that I felt like I deserved. And people always, that leads me to the next thing. People always ask me, they're like, so many people after they read the story, they're like, why don't you tell who it is? Like, didn't you file a police report? And I was like, yeah, I have an open case, but I never mentioned his name. I know his name. I never mentioned his name though. And people were so mad at me, and they're like, why don't you just say it so he can get in trouble, get kicked off the team? And I was like, because I have more to lose than he does. Because let's be honest, this is a messed up justice system. Like you can go, they'll put you in prison for weed. Okay. But if you rape somebody, let's be honest, you might spend the night in jail if you're a professional athlete. If that, You're getting out of it. He would get out of it, and nothing. The only thing that would come out of this was the one I'd be exposed even more, and two people would point fingers at me and probably try to make it up, like, oh, well, she's like, what do you say, like calling, like she's calling bluff. She didn't do that, or she came on to him. You know what I'm saying? And like everything that I worked for, and eventually, it sounds really bad, but eventually the team would have probably asked for my credentials because it's drama. And it's not a good look for the team. And as crappy as that is, I would have eventually lost credentials. I know it. So it was like I could keep my job and everything that I worked hard for and the respect that I worked for from these guys. Or I could say somebody's name who's going to get maybe spend a night in jail and who's just going to get a slap on the hand. He's not going to get kicked off the team. Like, that's not going to happen. So I'm just being realistic about it. And people say all the time, they're like, no, I know. I know this. And it's not that I want him to get off with it, and that's fine, and I want him to be free. No, I wish he would sit in jail forever, because if he's done it to me, which I've also heard stories from another person that reached out to me and figured it out who it was. She was like, hey, there's somebody that she's like, I don't know for sure who it is, but there's been rumors that this particular player has put stuff in people's drinks and blah, blah, like has a history of it, but nothing's going to ever happen to him. So it's kind of, do you get what I'm kind of saying? I know it sounds dumb and people get mad about it and they're like, no, you just need to he needs to be put away.
Oh no, trust me. I know exactly what you're saying. Because certain people, their position they're in, and the money they have keep them from facing the same consequences as regular people.
Exactly.
So,
and I mean, like I said, I didn't want to turn in my credentials. I don't want him to ruin and take away anything else from me. He's already taken something from me that I will never be able to get back. My entire life has been changed from something, and I don't want him to take my job from me too. I don't want him to have that. It's not worth it to me. Like, I would rather, you know what? At the end of the day, God's the only person that could judge us. He'll have to live with that one day. I can't do anything about that. So that's really the way I kind of looked at that.
So, I mean, again, the chat room is, my mom says, your story is empowering and heroic to help others who have been or possibly could be victims. Heroes stand up for those who can't for themselves. Very heroic. Lovely K says, I'm a diehard Bears fan. Always when the only girls come to game day. You know, girls in football, man. So Jackie says, that's the sad truth sometimes, and it's what stops people from coming forward. You are a strong, amazing woman, and it says so much about you that you handled it this easy. Man, look, it's not easy at all. It's not easy. Justin says, women sharing their stories forever so much more powerful to me. Not compare, but they go through when they're the victim. So irritating to me. Eventually, tables will turn and he will face the music. Let's see. Justice comes for everyone eventually. Sometimes we aren't there to witness it. Good call, Harley. Keep your platform and keep building.
Thank you, guys.
It hurts hearing you doubting that what you're saying, and life humbling always comes for him. If someone ever has an opinion, ask them about their skills. If they don't want to say them, then shut up. EJ 4-12 says, thank you for sharing and empowering other women to not be ashamed, being released from the feelings of embarrassment and rejection. So you're getting so many comments right now, Harley. I'm trying to keep up. I'm losing my breath.
I really, really appreciate everybody. That means a lot.
Oh, she said, okay, Jackie, she said she meant to say way. Okay, I got you. so she said so much about you that you handle it this way instead of being silenced. So yeah, you being able to voice out, even coming on tonight and being able to share your story, and you taking the steps towards you're admitting to it, and you're not feeling like it's your fault. That's one of the main things. It's not feeling like it's your fault that this happened to you. Terrible things happen sometimes in life, but one thing that I've learned is the reason why certain people are given certain battles is because they can win those battles.
That's good. Thank you. Yeah.
Certain people are given certain battles because they're able to win them. God doesn't just put anybody in a situation unless they're able to overcome them. In the book of Job in the Bible, I'm gonna get a little biblical for you guys for the first time ever. Job dedicated his life to God, and the devil came to God and told him, like, I bet you I can get him to curse your name, and then God told the devil, okay, do what you have to do, but just don't give him any physical harm. So the devil, he takes away everything that Job owns. He takes away his farm. He kills all his animals, all his livestock. He kills off his family, and he makes him sick, and he takes all this from him, and still Job doesn't curse God's name. He still worships God. He lost all that, and never once. And that's what I said when I said that the strongest people get the hardest battles. So that's what I'm saying. Holly. I mean, the chat room's still going. Lovely K says sexual violence can have psychological, emotional, and physical effects on a survivor. Those effects aren't always easy to deal with, but with the right help and support, they can be managed. And Justice says, to add to Lovely K, the gaslighting involved isn't talked about enough. Andrea says, vengeance is mine, said the Lord. I'm sure you will see him pay in public for what he did.
I just, like, a part of me, like, I just feel like, I hope that it doesn't happen to, like, anybody else. You know what I'm saying? Like, that would be the only part of me that would want to say something. Like, if I could get him in trouble, it would just be to protect the next person. And I'm just hoping that he does, like, I don't know if he's ever, like, I don't know if those are rumors, like, if he's done it before, but I just hope that, I don't even know, honestly, if he thinks that, like, it makes me question, like, does he even think that he did anything wrong? Like, I always sit here and I just think about things all the time. I'm like, does he know that he did something wrong? Like, does he ignore it? Like, does he do this often? Like, I don't know. It's just hard because I'm 31 years old. Like, this happened to me when I was 29 years old. Like, you go your whole, I was like, oh my God, like, sometimes I get mad. I'm like, all the things in my whole life, all the times when I've been, like, done stupid things, I'm 29 years old. And like you guys said, I mean, you gotta, like, bad things happen, but it's so you can get through them and become a stronger person. But it's just like, sometimes I get mad and I'm like, why didn't this happen to me when I was younger? Like, why didn't this, like, so I could have time to get over it by now? But that's just me being selfish, I guess.
Well, not necessarily you becoming a strong person, but you are already a strong person,
Thank
because a
you.
lot of times people have things that happen so traumatic to them, and they just give up. Like, they decide, you know what, I don't want to live anymore, and they remove themselves from existence because they feel like
Yeah.
they give up. And
Yeah.
you are willing to fight. And I mean, therapy, I keep telling people how important therapy is, man. Therapy is immensely important for you to have a successful life,
Yeah.
not financially, but happy wise. You've been able to express yourself to someone without feeling like you're being judged. It's very important.
Oh
So
yeah, if I could say that to anybody that's listening, definitely talk it out. Even if you feel embarrassed or you feel like you're in denial and you're like, no, I'm strong, I don't need to talk to anybody. Yes, you do. Yes, you do. Because I feel like I was like the most hard ass person ever. Never showed emotion. Nobody ever saw me cry unless I was like mad. Like, it never, like, my family I never showed emotion around anybody. And I thought I was some badass, and look what it's done to me. It's destroyed me by not wanting to talk to somebody for that long. It's destroyed me. Like, I still struggle to sleep at night. I still, like, everything's a struggle. I've started on medication now, and I hate medicine. I never wanted to be on medication. And I'm at that point where I have to have help. And it's because I waited so long. I feel like, I don't know. I mean, maybe if I would have talked it out earlier, maybe I wouldn't be this bad. So definitely people need to talk it out.
Jackie says, you are here today touching people's lives and possibly giving them the strength they need to remember that we aren't wrong or bad because someone did something bad to us. Just to remind you that you're still young and the rest of your life is just beginning. Jackie says, him acknowledging his wrongs is something he will answer to God about. It doesn't take away from how amazing you are anyway. Things happen when they aren't meant to. If this happened when you were younger, you may not have been able to process and survive this way. That's true.
Very true.
You become mentally stronger the older you become. EJ4312 says, also, thank you for sharing your participation in therapy and how it can be an awkward and silent start.
Oh, for sure. I was like, wow, this is big. She probably was like looking at me with her little notepad, like, wow, this is going to be forever. But yeah.
See, My mom says you are a voice navigating through in a mature, powerful, impactful way. This has ignited a fire that will burn for others who are victims to become victorious. Victory is yours, saints the Lord.
Thank you.
Asking for help is what makes us so strong. Most courageous thing to do is ask for help. So proud. Yeah, I said it. I said it earlier when I was on live on Instagram. I went live and I was saying how people feel like that they're looked at as being weak if they admit to having dealing with something mentally. But from my personal experience and my personal opinion, I feel like you are a strong person if you're able to voice what's going on with you to others.
Definitely. Because I could tell you I've been through a lot in my life, but actually getting like being able to sit down and actually tell somebody my problem, like talk to somebody, that was probably the hardest thing I've ever had to do. So I commend everybody who talks it out, whether it's with a therapist, with somebody that you just trust, a friend, anybody, your parents, if you're lucky enough to be able to do that. So, yeah.
So I'm gonna ask you this, Holly, because I had an anxiety episode last week when I was driving. When you feel that anxiety, flaring up a little bit, like what do you do to cool it down? How do you get rid of it?
Um, I try to think positive and I try to tell myself that what I always, oh my, they always tell you to say this, and it's always been my number one thing. I always tell myself, okay, calm down. You can't die from this. Nobody could die from this. You're fine. And then I start to like ease into there are people out there that have been through way worse things than you have. Like this is nothing. And I kind of try to hype myself up with that. And then honestly, this sounds probably really dumb, but I try to think happy thoughts of my happiest memories were when I was a kid. So I try to do something that reminds me, whether it's thinking about a certain moment from my childhood, or like not if I'm driving, of course, but if I'm at home or something, turning on like an old show that I used to watch when I was a kid. Even something as little as going and like getting cereal or something that makes you feel like a kid again, because I feel like everybody's happy place is some point in their childhood. So I kind of try to think about that.
So
But yeah, my anxiety used to be like really, really like I would when I couldn't sleep, there would be times when I would wake up, my anxiety would be well, not wake up, but I would like sit up in my bed and I would bleed because I would claw myself so hard. My anxiety would be so bad when I would just sit there and like squeeze my arms and like I I would bleed. It was really bad. So I used to have like it's getting a little bit better on that, thank God. But you just kind of have to talk yourself out of it.
so you try to put yourself in your happy place when you feel
Yeah.
flaring up. So like say like you said, you you try to imagine going back to childhood. If you got to go watch go watch Scooby Doo or the Flintstones or something.
Exactly, because you if you really think about it, it's proven like they say it and it sounds dumb, but it's really a proven fact. Like if you like when you color and when you do stuff like that, it channels like a part of your brain. And I don't know if you guys have heard of I think it's like EMDR therapy. I don't know if you guys have ever heard of it, but I've been working on that lately with my therapist, and it's basically where it takes you back. You go through like the traumatic experience with these things they put in your hands. But whatever, like you lay down and they take you to the traumatic experience and then they bring you back and they make you go to like your safe place. And I had for the longest, I couldn't figure out what my safe place was. And in order to start the whole process of that, you have to find the place that you're comfortable at, the only thing that can give you peace. So once I found that, I was able to do that therapy, and that helps me a little bit more too, going back and forth, because it kind of tricks my brain into if I'm having anxiety or I'm feeling like triggered, I'm trying to teach myself to go to the other part of my brain, because I don't know, my therapist broke it down about different parts of your brain, but like apparently you can like the anxiety is triggered in a certain portion of your brain, and it's just teasing yourself. So you have to find your comfort zone and learn how to bring yourself out of that. So I've been kind of working on that lately.
Yeah, I the chat room says Jake says I tell myself anxiety is only temporary. I've never got stuck like this, and anxiety is not just a feeling. It doesn't have to be good or bad. As hard as it is, allow yourself to feel it. But also, breathe deep, color breath,
Yeah,
wear my hands under cold water. Depends where I am. Yeah,
very. I have to try the cold water one.
So yeah, I mean, what you do it for me personally. I mean, you try to figure out why you're having this, anxiety. What are you afraid of? Like, what's going on to make this come up? And let's see, mental health kits are so important in response to Jackie, as Justin says. Yeah, I mean, I figured out. I was driving, and the expressway was it was kind of windy that day, so like the vehicle was like kind of swerving a little bit. So
Yeah.
I was making me a little anxious, man. I was like, oh man, this ain't gonna end well. So
Did you talk yourself out of it? How do you manage with yours?
so what I do is, again, like, how you said you try to trigger a different part of your brain,
Yeah.
by putting yourself in a happy place. I just pretty much I try to change the subject, with myself. Like,
Yeah.
I start thinking about something, like I start thinking about stuff I gotta do. I'm like, okay, well, I need to get home. I need to work on the audio. For the show, I need to get this track on. Blah blah blah. I need to do this editing for this, and I need to write this stuff down. I keep busy. And that's how I get myself out of it. I pull myself out of it by, like you said, you put yourself in a happy place. I put myself in a different place when I got it going on. So it's kind of like the
Gotcha.
same thing. Um, let's see. Andrea says, I always tell myself, God has never left me. At 29 years, I don't see if he will. I don't see he will start now.
True. That's a really good one too. I love that.
Justice said, we have hands for a reason. What does God do with his? He says here, we're supposed to help someone up, be helped up, or hold hands, walk in the same path at the time. Community is powerful by getting help when needed. I'm just trying to keep up with the chat room, man. They flying off.
I love this because it really makes me feel like really good because it makes me feel good when I know that people can relate. Not that I want anybody to ever experience what I'm experiencing, but like to know that people also have anxiety or also can't sleep at night because you know what I'm saying? Like it's comforting when I mean, we all know we're not the only ones, but it's comforting when you hear people talk about it too, because then you're like, oh, okay, like I'm not crazy. I'm okay. Like I feel like I always have to tell myself, I'm like, I'm not crazy. I know I'm not crazy. So
No, you are not crazy. I mean, that's literally the whole purpose of the chat room, man, is to bring people together. We all, man, most people in this, I'm looking down the list. I mean, we all have some things in common. We all deal with the same issues, just from different aspects.
yeah.
Different forms of anxiety, different, depression. We experience some of this, some like, okay, we've all experienced traumatic things growing up or in life, and we all have side effects of mental health because of these things. So when we get together and we have a conversation, we also figure out what works best for each other. We share the different ways that we cope, and we utilize them with each other.
Yeah.
So I mean, that's the whole purpose of it, is to bring everybody together so we can talk it out.
I love it.
So I see mindfulness, exercises, and breathing, and in regards to anxiety thing. Let's see. Lifschultz says, yes, you do, and I listen to you and help you refocus your energy to a better place. As my sister says, she calls my mom. She's in the chat room.
Nice. That's always good too, because your mom's like it's kind of like your safe space. Everybody's mom, you're like, oh, mom.
Yeah, yeah. Mom is a good one. Jackie says, I use visualization like 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Think of a place, 5 things you see, 4 things you can hear, 3 things you can touch, 2 things you can smell, and 1 thing you can taste. Any order works, and any place I use the beach because I'm calm there. That's actually a pretty good one for everybody.
Yeah.
Man, I might have to write that down or screenshot that for myself.
I know. I was gonna say. I was like, I think I might confuse myself with that one though. I'd be like 5, 4. Hold on.
I mean, if you have it written down, you'll be all right. You
Yeah, I'm gonna need that one.
So I know, Holly. I know you got a lot going on. The NFL draft is next week.
Mm.
You gotta get ready for that.
Love that.
So
I'm excited. I'm not gonna give you guys my mock draft. I'm not gonna let you know who I have Chicago taking.
Yeah, we're not gonna go into the actual draft. She said thanks, and thinking of the order itself is distracting. But I mean, even being distracted when you're trying to put the 5, 4, 3, 2, 1 together,
that takes your mind off the anxiety.
It takes your mind, but now you refocus on something else.
I like that.
My mom said, "Are you coming to Nashville for the draft?"
Oh, that's so crazy because I was actually supposed to cover it and I had my flights and everything, my room booked, and they pulled me off of it last minute because we have people from NFL Network too. So I was like, oh man. So no, I won't be there sadly now.
Yeah, because that's where she lives. She lives in Nashville.
Oh man, that would have been so fun. I would have totally went and met with your mom.
Yeah, you guys could have hung out and went to go drink mojitos or some shit.
Yes.
So, right now we are at the 40-minute mark. I'm gonna ask you, Holly, if you got any last things you want to share with everybody. You know,
I just want to thank everybody in the chat room and everything. You guys really made me feel better, and I appreciate everybody's support. So, and you're not alone. Anybody that's going through anything, you can get through it.
yeah. Again, I mean, I'm very, very grateful for you to being able to take time out of your busy schedule, especially in the middle of the NFL draft season, to come sit down and have this conversation and your openness with us. And I mean, a lot of people in the chat room are very positively affected by just how open you are and how honest you are with what's going on with you and where the anxiety roots from. I mean, as you could tell from the messages I was reading to you, I mean, like everybody just you had everybody fired up. Chat room ain't moved like that in a minute. It was hard for me. It's hard for me to keep up.
Oh, you guys are awesome. I really appreciate the support. So that's why I talk about it, is hopefully like me just being able to talk it out with you guys. If you weren't affected, then you probably know somebody that was, and I just want to be able to help as many people as I can. So if telling my story and getting my shame and like working on that can help somebody else, then I'm here for it.
Justice says real quick, Aaron Rodgers is overrated. Speak on it.
Okay, you guys I'm not trying to make everybody in the chat room hate me now and end this on a bad note, but I will say Aaron Rodgers was one of my favorite quarterbacks, but in the last 2 to 3 years, yes, he's starting to be a little overrated.
And his family hates him, so we need to talk about that too.
He needs to be in the chat room. He needs to work on his family life and get it together.
Jackie says, "God bless you, Holly. You touched my heart, and so this evening,
Thank you.
You are in my prayers, and don't forget how strong you are."
Thank you so much.
My mom says, "Thank you, Holly. Your story is tremendous." She was actually excited about the thought that you was gonna come down there. She was like, "That." She was like, "That would be cool."
I should have came on. I should have just kept the fight and came on my own time. If I would have known your mom was out there, me and her could have hung out.
Yeah, you guys.
We could have done draft on our own.
You guys could have hung out and well, my mom's not really a football person, but she's down for the mojitos though.
Yeah, see, I will buy her a mojito, and then I'll be like, here, just cheer when I tell you to cheer, then be like, oh, no.
Justice says, "No, thank you. Please keep being loud. Your voice is so important. Don't ever doubt that. So grateful, and I hope you keep pushing and showing vulnerability. Strongest thing you could show. Share your story."
I love that.
She said, Justice says, we need let's talk it out, some t-shirts. I mean, we're gonna work on something.
Yes.
Man. We're gonna work on something, man. Get some t-shirts, maybe some hoodies. I'm a hoodie guy. I like the pullover hoodies. I'm not a zipper hoodie guy. I like pullovers.
I'm with you on that. We spread the word, talk it out, seriously.
Because the pullovers, I'm not a fan of those. But we could probably do maybe hoodies, shirts, and hats. We're gonna figure something out.
A workout line.
Get in with Under Armour. No, I'm kidding. Jackie says, "1 day at a time, sometimes 1 hour, sometimes 1 minute, but we are not in it alone." Not at all. I mean, we connect in the chat room. Most of you guys do follow me or have my number or have immediate access to me. If you want to have a conversation or you want me to, connect you with somebody, you can just easily hit me up anytime you want. If I don't respond, probably because I'm asleep, but I respond to you when I wake up.
True.
I sneak to sleep in when I can. So
can you sleep for me? That would be great. I'll live vicariously through you.
Right, you get to sleep through me, right? So I mean, again, thank you everybody for tuning in tonight. I'm gonna go ahead and leave you guys on that note. Holly, again, thank you for coming in and having a conversation.
Thank you so much. You guys are awesome.
All right, so you guys have a good week. I look forward to talking to you guys next week.